Jeanne, I'm so happy to have you today, and I look very much forward to our conversation. Welcome.
Well, it is a great honor to be here with you, Benoit. A great honor.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. So I want to ask you some questions specifically about young souls coming to the planet. And my first question would be, looking back from where you are today, if you were to tell your young self before even conceiving a child, is there anything that you would have liked to know before you welcome a child onto this planet?
Yeah, first of all, I think that probably almost my whole life, I have felt that I came here with some kind of a purpose on the planet. I was not able to identify that at such a young age, but I knew that I had some purpose that had to do with everybody and everything. I knew that, I could feel that. And as a child, which helped me as I grew through my years, as a child, there was a strong connection with the plants, a strong connection with animals. I was a strong connection with life. And I was not able, nor was I really asked. If somebody had asked me, I might have been able to articulate it. But as I think back, I don't know that I would have known how to articulate what I was sensing. I also knew that I came from the stars. I can remember I had just barely turned 5 years old. And I remember pushing my bed up against my bedroom window, opening up the window, taking my pillow and putting my pillow on the windowsill so I could lay my head on the pillow and stare up at the stars, because I knew that somehow I was from there. And that's all that I knew. All through my life, my childhood, through my teen years, I was very aware, and it grew more and more, it grew stronger, it grew clearer that somehow I was here to make a difference. Again, I wasn't sure how that was going to happen. And I did know this. You were asking about my having, what was it like for me as a young parent before I was actually a parent, but knowing that I wanted to have 2 old souls. I can remember saying that. I was about 17 or 18 years old. And I can remember thinking, I want to be the mother of 2 old souls. I want one to be a girl and one to be a boy. Because this is the human way of doing things on this planet. And they didn't come until later, but I was blessed with an extraordinarily wise and beautiful young daughter, and then again with an extraordinarily wise and brilliant son. So the male and the female both came in. And I was very clear, Benoit, right at the very beginning, that these were star children. I knew that. I didn't have a name to put to it, but I already knew that something was coming in from well beyond me and well beyond this planet. But these 2 beings were coming in, and that they themselves would somehow make an impact on the planet. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
I hear you say star children. For me, it is a familiar expression, but perhaps some of our viewers don't necessarily relate to this automatically. Yeah. Would you like to say a couple of words about what you mean with it?
Sure. There are all kinds of descriptions that are given to children now. You hear the term indigo children. You hear the term crystal children. You hear the term, star children. What I do know is no matter how they get described, every child now coming onto this planet has come here in some way to help move the human race to the next level of consciousness. If people would pay attention, very close attention, they'll learn that if they'll just listen, the children will teach them. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that we aren't meant as parents and as loving adults to help set some parameters so that they don't just walk off of a cliff. Yet, I wouldn't doubt that if they did walk off the cliff, they probably would fly. I don't know. All I know is that the children coming in now have extraordinary abilities, and that we as adults have a responsibility to listen to them and to create an environment for them so that they can fully remember who they are.
Thank you.
Is there more that you need out of that? I could go on all day long around children. Yeah, and let me say this, I call them star children because they are of a caliber I do not think has ever been on this planet before. And to think that they come straight from the earth is okay. That's really okay, because our beautiful planet has within her so much beauty, so much magic, so much wonder, and there's still more. And my sense is these children are bringing in that and more. And our job is to listen to them and let them teach us.
Yeah, a way I have to understand as well what you're saying, or articulate it in a different ways, that these children kind of make it visible some of the aspect of the amazing potential of human beings.
Right.
And it might be sometimes very surprising for us, or very very challenging even when we think in old terms, and the relationship between adults and children as it was before. And I love the way you say, if we would listen to the children, usually, or perhaps in the time of my parents or grandparents, it was always the opposite. Children would have to listen to the parents or to the adults. So it's a new paradigm in a way. It's challenging the way we look at education. And I love that you say that.
Yeah.
And I would like to go a little bit into, you said if we have a great responsibilities when we welcome these children into our life and on our planet, and they have a specific purpose, and that we have the responsibility to set parameters to help them remember. And of course, I must think automatically of the interstellar universities and the communities, because as I imagine them, they would be the perfect environment for children to flourish and for humans to evolve and develop their potential. But for the time being, if you could give some advice to young parents who realize, wow, this child is so special and so different, and our society is changing so rapidly. What is my role? What can I do to accompany this child? How can I do to support? And this could be ideas, or even a practice, or a message.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the greatest inventions I think that's come along, because I didn't have it as a young adult, but it's the Post-it notes. Here, I have Post-it notes right here. I keep them all over the place. But Post-it notes, if there's something I know it's important for me to remember, if my conscious mind or ego mind starts doing this, but my unconscious self, or you can give it any name you want to, the higher self, whatever, has given me a message. Number one may be believe in yourself. Then write it on a Post-it note and just stick it up somewhere, anywhere, so that when you go through the house or your apartment, wherever it is that you happen to live, you may have it in a particular place where every day you will see it, but you may not even register it. And it's okay, because already what's happening is there's a programming that is going on inside of you. It can be something like nothing is impossible, which is one of the greatest messages my own parents gave to me as a child. Nothing is impossible. If you can see it, you can create it. If you can feel it, you can create it. And let me say this quickly as it's coming. If you feel it and it's something you don't want to feel, you can discreate that. But the point is within you, within each child, and they're coming in very naturally doing this. It gets programmed out of them as they get older because of the system that we have. But as a young parent, if you can help nurture these kinds of messages for your children, but you're also nurturing yourself with these kinds of messages. So I'm a firm believer in Post-it notes. But you know what? I'm also a firm believer in taking, even if it's only 3 minutes, better at 10 minutes. If you can do longer, that's fine. But even if it's only 3 minutes, stop. Just stop and be silent and just breathe. And you'd be amazed at what happens, particularly when you're parenting. I can remember as a parent, I had my children were very active. The system kept wanting to label one of my children as hyperactive. Well, that's all right. It's just a lot of energy moving through him, right? So I am not a believer at all of labels that get put on to children. It doesn't make any difference to me what the label is. These children now all children have always been, but humans have not been able to be aware that all children at all times are star children. These are messengers from the universe, from the different dimensions. Always this has been true. But humans, somewhere along the line, and there are all kinds of conversations we can have on that, but humans have, it's not that they have forgotten. I don't think that the species was awake enough to notice that when a child comes into the presence, what they have here is yet another opportunity to remember how divine and how sacred this species is. What's happening now is more and more are beginning to wake up. More and more adults are beginning to wake up and are seeing that, hello, there really is something extraordinary about this species. And yes, you do have that element of those that haven't woken up yet. So these are the ones that enjoy playing in all the dramas that you see going on the planet. And it's okay. Just stay the course, stay on point, keep focusing on love, love your child, do what you can to be kind to yourself, be kind to your children, and little by little, and it's happening very quickly now, what's happening is this. And there's a resonant field it's like sacred arms being created around the planet now that is holding her and helping her move into another stage of evolution. So these children now pay very close attention. If you have a child in your life, pay very close attention, listen, and let the child teach you. Doesn't mean you don't discipline them, but be very aware that if you are disciplining them, what is driving you to do that. If you're angry, take a breath, step back. It's okay to be angry, but just take a breath and step back and center yourself and just embrace the child and whatever you're attempting to teach them with as much love as you can.
Mm.
Yeah, we could go on for hours on this one because I could give you all kinds of examples.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Message. Let me just put this little piece in there. I brought it up. Laugh a lot. Find reasons to laugh. Children are extraordinarily funny. They're just funny. And if a person is not stuck in themselves, they can begin to see the brilliance that is in humor. Mm-hmm. So laugh and sing a lot with your children. It doesn't make any difference whether you think you can carry a tune in a bucket. It doesn't matter. Sing, because these little ones coming in, they are already singing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's more. So ask me another question.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. One thing that I'm always fascinated about is how children, and I think about this because of you mentioning humor, are masters in going through emotions. They can have very extreme emotions, but they rarely stay stuck in them. They kind of learn it from us, perhaps with time, when we model this way of, for example, have resentment. Small children don't have resentment. Whatever happens, even if you're angry and you shout, or they are over it so fast. And if you open your heart and come and say, oh, I'm sorry, I was angry, I shouted. Yeah. They are so fast forgiving and moving the energy in a way that it's going to be light and playful and joyful again.
Exactly.
So that's also what we can perhaps really, with the singing, we can help ourselves to remember this way of flowing with the energy without getting stuck.
Yeah. Let me just say this around the singing, because you had asked me before we started the interview, was there some kind of an exercise or something that we could, share, and perhaps something that daily people could do. And of course, it is the singing. But as you know, Benoit, and others that may be listening to or watching this interview, it's a special kind of singing. It's a singing that we come into this life knowing how to do it. We just forget. That's all. And all of us, I think a poetic way of saying this is all of us, I am a song. You are a song. Each one of us, each one of the all is a song. So when each of us comes together, if we allow it to happen, what happens is these symphonies of sound get created. And we don't get stuck in the ego mind. We don't get stuck in anything. because the sound itself helps to move the energy. And you talk about the children, they don't get stuck. They don't. They can be conditioned to get stuck. And that's part of what's happening in the human race. But if you allow the child to be completely who he or she is and empower that within them, then they will blossom into what human beings were meant to be all along. And sad to say, we haven't had very many of those on the planet in the past centuries, but we have more and more now because the species itself is ready to move to another level. Easy peasy. Exercise is number one, don't think. And you just let the sound come. And there are no words, so don't try to think of words. If you try to think of words, what happens is in the ego mind gets involved. And you start with judgments and then all the craziness starts. So you let go of that. You just relax. Just let the sound come. And every day, every morning and every night, what I do when the sun goes down and when I'm up in the morning, I create a song. I call it a spontaneous song. You can call it whatever you want to. I say it's a spontaneous song. Benoit, you've done this with me enough. But what happens is if you just take a few seconds or even, it doesn't have to be much longer than a minute, just a few seconds and just let the sound come and create a song. Let it just move through you like a breeze. And what will happen if you're not thinking is you are raising your frequency. You're changing the vibrational field of everything within you and everything around you. And I love it. If I thought I could have had it ready to play for you, but I love it when birds come. I can go out in the morning and I can begin to sing. And if there are no birds singing, suddenly birds come and they start singing. The wind will come. If it has been absolutely, totally still, and I begin to sing, the wind will come. It happens in a variety of different ways, but what happens, the more you do this, the more you begin to realize you are part of everything. These children that are coming in, they're part of absolutely everything, and you're part of them. And so exercise. So I'm going to create a song for you. It's just for you, Benoit, and everybody that might be listening and watching. And just listen to it. We're going to do something else here in just a moment. But it's a song that's never been sung before because it's being created right now in this moment. And it's being created with the vibration that you, Benoit, and everyone that is listening and watching this, your energy is coming into this. And somehow, because I'm connected to you, we are connected to each other. Somehow your vibrational field is going to help create the song that's going to come out of me, okay? It will be very short, but it'll give you an idea. Hey-yo, ay-ay-yo, hey-yo. Hey-yo, ay-ay-yo, and you always wait just a few seconds after you've created a song, because it is like ringing a bell. You know how when you stop ringing the bell, it's still ringing, right? So if you, right at the end of your song, just be really quiet for a few seconds, that's all, because the song is still moving out and it's still touching everything around you and moving on into the universe. So, but I do this every morning and I do this every afternoon or early evening when the sun goes down. And if you happen to forget, put a Post-it note up that simply says, sing. Any time of the day, any time of the day, but that's when I do it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Also, when our emotion gets stuck, we can sing a song that helps.
That's right. That's right. There's actually been one, and I teach workshops on this, but there is something that, should that happen, someone may be going through a great sadness, or you can do it with anger. You can do it with any emotion where you feel like it's stuck inside. You can sing that out, sing the sound of the anger, sing the sound of the sadness. And this is a piece that not many people will teach you. And it came in from the stars for me, so I'm giving it to you as a gift. Then there's another song, and that song is coming in from the higher self, the part of you that never forgets who you really are. And when that song comes in, it meets up with the frequency of the other song, of the anger, of the frustration. And it comes in and it works and begins to shift that frequency, and it raises it. And it helps to neutralize whatever it is that may be stuck in your cells and in your emotions. So it's not complicated at all. But yeah, you get in a, for children, yeah, you got a child that comes in that's really angry or afraid, sing the fear, have them sing the fear. But do not forget to bring in the second song after that has been sung, because it's like, coming in and giving a gentle hug once the pain is out. So, does that make sense?
Yes, it's beautiful.
When I've had cancer 2 times, and when I had cancer, I learned, the cancer cells, they're still part of you. All of us have cancer cells inside of us. They just have a job to do. And sometimes they get very excited, so they go and they create cancer. And or let's just say that they get very exuberant, and that's when people experience cancer. And I can remember one of the images among many that I would have is a healthy cell coming in and putting its arms around a cancer cell. And the cancer cell would just fight and fight and fight and fight and fight. And the healthy cell would just hold and just love the cancer cell, until finally the energy of the cancer cell just got tired. So it got less and less. And when it did, it was able to just relax into the arms of the healthy cell. And that was one of the images that I had as I was moving through cancer. But I healed from it. And the sound and that kind of imaging was what helped me do that. So, yeah. And I say this about children, especially these children coming in now. I don't know any of them that don't have a lot of energy. They have a lot of energy. And unfortunately, we've got systems that try to put them into boxes. And that happens with school. You and I have a friend. You and I have a friend where there's a system attempting to put a particular child into a box, into the system, the way unawakened adults think it ought to be. But you take the same child and put them into an environment where you've got adults that are awake and are aware, then they'll know how to help guide that energy so that it becomes something very beautiful and productive.
Mm.
I can say this too. My granddaughter is one of these extraordinary star beings. And I remember my son because he's divorced from her mother, but they have an extraordinary relationship with our granddaughter, an amazing relationship. And even though they both have their individual lives now, the thing that I shared with my son is I said, and I shared it with her mother as well, that no matter whatever the conditions are, wherever you are raising this child, just make sure she knows she's loved. If she knows she is loved and that she is listened to, she will blossom. She will absolutely blossom. And this is what is happening with her. So, yeah. Parents that, and you don't run into so many of them anymore, but there are those, and it's okay, who feel very strongly they need to stay together for the children. That needs to be looked at very closely, because the parents themselves, that includes those like yourself, Benoit, who's parent of this extraordinary, these little beings, these little star children that are yours. You want what is in your maturity of understanding and in your way of awareness, you want what is the best for them. And I do know that there are those parents that sometimes feel like the best for the child is to stay together regardless. And it can become an abusive situation for the parents toward each other who may be staying together because they think that's for the good of the child. And God bless all those that would think that way. I'm encouraging you to look deeply within yourself, because each individual, including each parent, has come in with dreams, has come in with wisdom, and you have a responsibility to help that dream within you unfold. And that may mean that you go as far as you can go with a partner, and then maybe this begins to happen. It's like the branches of a tree, and it's okay. The trunk is still there, the love is still there, but the branches begin to move out in this direction. And as with my granddaughter, now she's got us, of course, but she's got her father and his family, and she's got her mother and that family. And so for her, it has become a win-win.
Like a world has expanded. She has.
That's right. And this is really important, I think, for especially young adults moving forward. The biggest thing that you always want to do is, what is it, comes out of the Bible and probably a few other religious books, to thine own self be true. Or was that Shakespeare? Who is that?
I don't know, but I would tip on Shakespeare, but we can look it up.
We can look it up.
One thing that I've heard you say in this last minute, it was kind of transpiring into this other point you were making, and that's something that I think is really essential. When you said we parents often, we really want from the deepest of our heart the best for our children, and sometimes we even forget ourselves in this process. And I love how you said you were born with dreams, you were born with your own purpose. And I think I would like to remind us that, or remind myself as well, that children learn by imitation. whatever
right.
you're going to tell them,
That's right.
if we don't do it ourselves, they will learn from what we do, not from what we say. So the best
That's
thing
right.
we can do, between other things, to help our children and support them into blossoming, is also to really embrace our own dreams and our
That's right.
own ventures and whatever we are called to do in this life.
Yeah. You're reminding me of an old friend, a Blackfoot Indian woman who shared with me. She was a good friend, and she shared with me once back when I was in my early 30s, and my children were very young. And she said, Jeanne, she said, if you are happy, then your children will be happy.
Mm.
And what has made me happy, or when I feel happiness, let me say that, is when I know I am being true to myself.
Mm.
And I'm guessing that most of us have this little alarm that goes off inside when we may be heading in a direction that doesn't feel, it's one of those red flags. It doesn't feel like this really is where I want to go, but you go that way anyway. And when you go that way anyway, is when you begin to run into obstacles.
Mm.
And, don't give up on yourself. That's another thing. And God knows I have created so many obstacles for myself over the years. It's because I'm very stubborn, but that's okay. The universe keeps kind of bringing me back onto a center again. And somehow I found my way. But I do know that I have been with enough people now around the world. I know what happens when a person is not following their dreams. And we know whole societies that are not following their dreams. They come together and create a culture that can only go so far, and they get stuck in the dramas.
Mm.
So, yeah, Post-it notes are very good. Believe in your dreams. That's another one to write on there. But yeah. Because here's the other thing. It's the fact that you have the child. Somehow that is fulfilling a dream that you may or may not have been conscious of. The fact that this child, this soul, found you. That child was looking for you all along, that soul. Here's an interesting piece of physics. Each of us is creating a magnetic field. And what does a magnet do? It will draw to it whatever is closest to it, that like magnets will, bring metal into them. We bring in those that are the most like us. And we create a magnetic field around ourselves. And the universe responds to that. The dimensions respond to that because there's no separation. So we will draw to us the children that we are meant to parent. Now, I can also say this, that I have worked enough with parents who, as children, were abused, worked with children that have been abused, and for whatever reason, and however it happens, and that's another conversation. I have seen some of those who were the most abused when they were little, who have grown into these amazing, amazing beings, impacting the earth in the most extraordinary ways. Yes, you've got those that have come in and have put their mark on humanity that has not been in the best of ways. And this has been part of what has kept the human species at this lower frequency. But look at those that have moved beyond that lower frequency, and they've come out and they have begun to help us all create a resonant field now so that humans, the human species, this time, it's not the first time they've gone through this kind of challenge. This time they're going to make it. And they are going to evolve into this next level of consciousness. So no matter what your upbringing was, you are where you are now. It has brought you to this point now. And that has drawn to you these souls, these children that are coming in to help humans evolve. There's a lot more to that, but that's probably 25,000 words or less enough for right now. Yeah. And looking at my little list here, I drew out a list that I wanted just to make sure got mentioned. Mm-hmm. But I've said most of it. Why don't you ask me another question if you wish? Or
yeah, you mentioned boxes and how the system sometimes still wants children to adapt to it. And I wonder if you could say a couple of words of how do you think we could help shift that into how can the system adapt to the needs of the children or to the needs of our time? Because we need new structure. That's my intuition, is we need new structure. We need to evolve this structure. And what could you say a couple of words into this?
Yeah, well, you're beginning to do it right there where you are. Mm-hmm. You are an example of what is beginning to pop up all over the planet. There are different how do I say, communities is one way to put it. But there are different families, different individuals that are creating an environment in many places around the planet now. So already in the consciousness of what we call an educational system, that's already beginning to crack. Mm. And you mentioned the interstellar universities, this vision that I was given, which actually what I was shown is that the idea of it will begin to replace anything that we call school right now. Schools, and I'm not talking about the wonderful efforts that you and those that you're with, and you and I could probably name quite a number of others around the planet that are doing something similar. I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about, for instance, the educational system in our country, in the United States. It is archaic. In most systems that are within most countries, especially if they are an adopted system of education for schools in most countries, they are archaic. And I remember Sixto Paz, whom you know, Jeanne White, Sixto is, he's quite a wise soul who also has been able to interact with those beyond this planet. One of the things Sixto said right at the very beginning when he and I met, and he had just read my book, he said, "What you have seen is liberation." And when he described that, what I heard him say is, education, schools, up to this point, have imprisoned the mind so that humans could not grow outside of this boxed structure that they had built that they call school. And that what I have seen is the liberation of all of that, the opening up, the disappearance of this, and the bringing in of what is universal wisdom. The interstellar universities, their purpose has twofold purpose, but the most important purpose in the beginning is to help the human species wake up and to sustain that level of awareness. And this is not starting at the age of 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever and stopping at the age of 21, 22, whenever. No, this is from cradle right on out to the time that a soul leaves the body. So this is straight from birth, right on through that transition time. And that's what the Interstellar University is meant to do. And this is a whole new paradigm of what school is. In fact, we may even kind of drop the word school. And the only reason we call this a university at the moment is because that was the only thing in my lexicon that represented a higher, a higher awakening, a higher education. But there may be another word that you, Benoit, or your children or someone else who's listening to this interview may come up with. Who knows? I just know that there is something else that is in the process now of being born. And we can talk about that more in some other interview.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I love the way you say that learning shouldn't be separated from life. There shouldn't be a place that's for learning and everywhere else, just as if children don't learn.
Yeah.
They learn all day, all night. They
all day, all
only
night,
do that.
Right.
And I think humans, even when we can stay curious and healthy and open, that's what we do to the day we die. And that's what makes us happy as well. I think to be learning and to be evolving and growing, even when our bodies have stopped to grow.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited about envisioning a place where learning can happen all the time and is supported in every way, and it's not just a closed place. It's just the way we live as a culture.
Yeah,
it's really beautiful.
And it's interesting because someone with a more pragmatic view, or maybe practical, I don't know, might come in and say, yeah, but how do you run a town? How do you run your home? You've got, you're going to have, you may have bills, electricity, and that can, if you do it on your own, there are many ways to do that. But if you're doing it as a community, how do you do that as a community and have it still be within this higher place that we're talking about? Dentists, for instance, you're going to have to go to a dentist from time to time. And, we can come up with all kinds of examples of where people might say it's all fine and good to be dreaming out here, but what about all the practical stuff? Well, you know what? Here's the thing and I've often wondered about this when I'd go to our dentist, and our dentist is an artist and he is living his dream. So I have no desire. I didn't come in with the dream to be a dentist. I came in with a dream to actually be doing exactly what I'm doing right now, inspiring people as best I can, singing wherever I can, helping my children, etc. But these were deeply embedded in me when I was born. And luckily, I was given an environment that helped to nurture that, right? So what if somebody comes in and they, their dream may be, teeth, wanting to be a dentist, wanting to do what he or she could. So no matter what, somebody who lays bricks, there's art to that. There's art to everything. It doesn't make any difference what it is, but every one of us is unique. There may be a single consciousness of which each of us is a part, just like we have many cells to this body. But, you know, my brain cell, I'm not sure it would make a good heart cell. and the fingernails, you know, I'm not sure they would make a very good, you know, strand of hair. But put it all together and you have this body. And I'm firmly convinced that this is the way it works. So if we could just release the dreams that are inside each one of us and nurture those dreams, we wouldn't have any of the craziness that we've got going on now, the kind of dramas that we have now. And the bottom line always is love. Love what you're doing, love who you are, and love in every moment as best you can.
It's the shortcut to happiness.
Shortcut to happiness, yeah. And if you forget, watch your child. And here's another thing. Ask your child, what does he or she have to teach you today?
I like that.
And listen. Always listen. Post-it note, listen. So, yeah.
Thank you. I have a final question. And this question is directly or the answer to that question would be directed directly to the children. So I would like to give you the opportunity to speak directly to young children or young adults and give them a message you have for them or a couple of words of encouragement for their path.
So I think the first thing that I would say is you're absolutely perfect just as you are. And I would say nothing is impossible. Nothing. And anyone that would try to talk you into thinking differently, just give them a hug, love them, and keep believing in yourself because nothing is impossible. And something else, know that you are not by yourself. You are not alone. Even if you cannot see all the wonderful beings that are around you, know that you are being loved, you are being helped, and all you need to do is ask for help, just in case you forget. Oh, and another thing. Wear your love glasses. Create some love glasses. They don't have to even be physical. They don't have to look like this. They can look like that. But the point, I don't know if you know that I can do that. But wear your love glasses at all times. If you run into somebody, another child, or even an adult that would try to help you feel not good about yourself, put your love glasses on, because you know what? They're the ones that don't feel good about themselves. And so they try to put that onto you. So what you can do is love them. Love them. And laugh. Laugh a lot. And sing a lot. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I would say to them. It's what I say to my granddaughter. Yeah. And another thing, maybe it's a grandparent, maybe it's your mommy, maybe it's your dad, but maybe it's a friend. But if something's bothering you in your heart, talk about it. Talk about it with somebody that you trust. Okay? And again, find reasons to laugh. Oh, yeah, sing and dance and dance. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Thank you so much.